Hey everyone, this is Aaron coming in here at the beginning to say, firstly, thank you for being patient with us last week when we didn't have an episode up. We did have a conversation about this is how you lose the time war, but frankly, it wasn't that interesting. I mean, I do have that raw audio for the episode, so maybe we'll release it one day, but we just didn't think it was like a super good episode, so thank you for waiting for us. Also, this episode is gonna be rough because Audacity ate my audio file, unfortunately. Um, so I'm gonna jump you in with our backup. It's not pretty, but it is gonna get you most of the good conversation we had and it over the garden wall, and it really was a fun conversation. And I'd hate to miss another week in a row, so I do just want to apologize for that. And I hope you enjoy it despite the bad audio quality. But it doesn't even have an intro, so we're just gonna jump you right in anyway. Over the garden wall rules, and you should watch it. But thank you. See ya.
You know what thought has been plaguing me since 2014 or whenever the fuck this came out? Is that good?
No,
Like
it sounds awful.
I have been plagued by the desire to put molasses in some mashed potatoes and just like see.
That sounds like something you get at Denny's after you've been like extraordinarily drunk on like a Thursday night.
If you don't have four kids, is there any other way to be at Denny's?
I guess that's a good point. For like a couple weeks, it's basically like, I mean, they're 11-minute long episodes. There's 10 of them, and I think you said they aired in pairs, so it wasn't a long running series. But basically, it follows the story of Wirt and Greg, two brothers who get lost in like a weird Halloween dimension, and they have to like find their home, and they encounter a lot of weird, kooky characters. There's Beatrice the Bluebird, there's the evil woodsman, and then there's of course the beast lurking in the background, seemingly pulling all the strings and trying to get them to turn into Edelwood trees. Um, and I mean, that's really it. Like, it's not a hugely complicated plot, but I think that there's a lot of fun stuff to dig into, despite the fact that it's not exactly hyper complicated. I think it's still a very fun time, and I think this has become something of like a show that I feel like has become very popular among like people that are like a little bit younger than us, because it debuted in 2014. So like I probably wouldn't have seen it like if I had had cable at that time. I mean, like, what was your exposure to Over the Garden Wall?
Um, I think it was more popular in art circles for people our age because that's kind of how I found it, was through art Twitter. As people were like, "Oh my god, the show is so beautiful, so good," and yeah, that's how I ended up stumbling onto it, was through art Twitter. And when I was in college when it came out, and we went to the Ottawa International Animation Festival every year. And I remember I actually have a signed poster for Over the Garden Wall, and I got to like meet the art director and stuff. So we got exposed to it through like animation school.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, like, let's set up the characters a little bit, and we can talk about the episodes, because like, I mean, it, like we just said, it's very short. There's not like a whole lot of meat on these bones, but I think they do pack a lot of interesting and fun scenarios into this show. So like we said, Wirt is the older brother. He's actually voiced by Elijah Wood, which I only found out at the very end of the series, which I thought was interesting. He's basically just like, a dorky high schooler. He's very emotional. He likes to quote poetry that he writes himself. He plays the clarinet. And he wears this like pointed hat, which I think is very funny. Um, and he's a dummy, but he is a dummy in a different way from the way that his brother Greg is. Greg is probably like, I mean, he strikes me as somebody who's like in the fourth grade, because he's like pretty smart, but also like just a wild man and completely uncontrollable, which is exciting. He's obviously for me the star of the show. He's just got some of the best like straight face line delivery, which is incredible. And then there's Beatrice, who like is a bluebird. She used to be a human, but she got turned into a bluebird by she got cursed by a bluebird because she was throwing rocks at one. uh, which is one way to get your family cursed. But yeah, she accompanies them on their journey, and like they have some tension at the beginning, but in the end they become very good friends. So I mean, those are the main characters, and we'll talk about the other ones soon. But like, I mean, do you have a favorite character, Layla?
Yeah, Langtree, the school teacher.
Okay, God. Ugh.
I'm obsessed with her.
All right, should we just get into it?
Yeah, because I mean, like, that's the characters. I don't have any input on them. I do have input on the situations they get themselves into.
Yeah, okay. I just rewatched this episode like 10 minutes ago to prepare myself for this conversation. So they're traveling through this Halloween universe or whatever, trying to find their way back home. And for whatever reason, they come upon this schoolhouse. And when they go inside the schoolhouse, there's this human woman named Miss Langtree, and she's teaching this classroom full of animals that are wearing clothes about, I guess, spelling and
How to spell and how to count.
how to spell and count. Yes, and why do you like Miss Langtree, Layla?
She's my favorite type of person to like not be around but observe, which is someone who could like make anything about themselves. So like Wirt gets in a weird trouble with her, and she sends him to the dunce box, which is like this little. It looks like an outhouse in the corner of her classroom, but the funniest thing about it is that it doesn't have a lid because Wirt's hat needs to fit in it. So there's no top to it. But basically she's trying to teach them the alphabet, and the way she's doing that is through a song called Langtree's Lament, which the full version isn't in the show, but the full version is on YouTube. And it is all about how a man left her and she was scorned by him, and it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. All she does is play sad piano and wait for Jim to come back.
Old Jimmy Brown. I that's like the opposite. That's why I hated her. Just like she was always constantly talking about how no good Jimmy Brown did her wrong. And there's a style of character that's like, I'm an old-timey person. Like, I don't know if you watched the last season of BoJack Horseman, but like there's a reporter character who also talks like that, and like this old-timey like 20s radio reporter style. That's like I don't know. I just found her really weird.
I mean, I think she's the least weird thing in this show. She's just kind of a sad lady. She had me at A as for the apple that he gave to me, but I found the worm inside, which is just... But, man, listeners, if you have 3 minutes on your hands, just go look up the lyrics to this fucking song. It is masterfully written. It is a modern masterpiece. I don't know. It makes me laugh every single time. I honestly was trying to learn how to play it on the piano so that when we started recording, I could just...
Okay, I mean, there are some pretty good songs in this show. I don't think Langtree's Lament is one of them.
I think Langtree's Lament is maybe the second best song. I think maybe the best one is the North Wind song.
Again, that's another like Steamboat Willie ass song. It does slap, but like it's so weird.
That whole episode is very Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, I don't know. But like my one of my favorites was the Potatoes and Molasses song that happens during this show, which like I don't know if I liked it, but I did like that Greg was so enthusiastic about singing about potatoes and molasses.
You know what thought has been plaguing me since 2014 or whenever the fuck this came out? Is that good?
No, like, it sounds awful.
I have been plagued by the desire to put molasses in some mashed potatoes and just like see.
That sounds like something you get at Denny's after you've been like extraordinarily drunk on like a Thursday night.
If you don't have 4 kids, is there any other way to be at Denny's?
I guess that's a good point.
It's the only time I've gone to Denny's. But yeah, I honestly have been plagued by this every single time I hear that song, because it is a good song. Objectively, it's a lot of fun. Greg's really into it. But I want to know, is that an improvement upon some bland-ass potatoes?
Listeners, write in. If you experience potatoes and molasses, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
Write it to mortifiedpod@gmail.com. We want to hear your mashed potatoes and molasses experiences.
That sounds gross.
Oh man, when I eventually buy molasses for a recipe that I only need like a tablespoon of molasses for, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, please do.
Oh man, yeah. So that's one episode. That is just kind of the freaky shit, and that's probably the most mild episode there is. We kind of skipped over the pumpkin town.
Yeah, I mean, like the first episode is the Pumpkin Town, right? Where they like they stumble upon this town where everyone is has a pumpkin head. They're like scarecrows with pumpkin heads, and then they're like, "Oh, you've been traveling in the field and stepping on our pumpkins. Do you know what the punishment is?" And where it's like, "Oh God, no!" And they're like, 4 hours of community service, and they make them go like dig holes in a field, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't so bad." And they even gave what's her name, the bluebird, a little tiny bird shovel, which I thought was awesome. There's a lot of really good touches in this show. It's just a lot of weird situations.
It is. I mean, I feel like describing it as a Halloween dimension is very apt because it's not like there's parts of it that I think if I was younger I would have found like legitimately scary, but otherwise it's genuinely just kind of weird. It's just a strange little show.
There are just there are some genuinely frightening moments. Like there were two scenes that scared the hell out of me. The one was where they were in the rich old man's house, and like there's a peacock that just like bursts through the window, and it's just a straight up jump scare, and it scared the hell out of me. And the second one is with Wirt's like third girlfriend Lorna, where like it turns out she's actually been possessed by some sort of wraith or demon or whatever, and she rolls up and like just has this horrifying, scary face and is just like chasing them through the woods. And I found that extremely frightening.
I think the scene that spooks me the most is like Lorna, but also the Beast. The final confrontation with the Beast really spooked me too. We'll get to it, but
Mhm.
I thought that was maybe the spookiest for me. I have trouble. I don't know. I feel like my fear response to media is really weird. I feel like I'm either terrified or I feel nothing. And like animated spooks don't really get me all that much. Like there's not really. I can't think of a time I've watched an animated thing and been like genuinely scared. There's been times I've been like uncomfortable with the content. Like famously Evangelion, but like people talk about Akira and how like weird Akira was, but me and you watched it and I had like no response to the weird shape shifting babies psychic nonsense. I thought it was really masterfully done, but like I don't know, it doesn't really scare me. But that being said, the conversation with the Beast at the end, I just every time I watch it, I'm like, ooh, ooh, that's a spooky monster. But that's kind of the limit of my spookiness.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to know how you felt about the Beast, because like I felt like the Beast was like kind of a basic villain. Like basically he's just sort of in the background the whole time, sort of being like, "Hey, I've got to make these kids lose heart so they'll turn into trees." And like we see him, and like his design is just like this like almost Slenderman esque figure, which is just like a silhouette with glowing eyes and I think horns. Um, and like I mean that's a pretty effective character design, I feel. But I mean like he doesn't get more complicated than that. He's just like, I'm just a straight up bad guy, and that's fine. Like it's a kids show. I don't ask for that much nuance in that sort of media. um but I did think that I think it was used well, especially at the end where like it was revealed that like he was manipulating the woodsman to like keep the candle lit, or the lantern lit, to like keep him alive. I thought that was really well done. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any feelings about that whole arc?
I think one of the most effective fears is fear of the unknown. So like obfuscating this villain, I think worked really well, where he's just kind of like literally a shadow in the woods. And every time Greg and Wirt come across something new, they're like, "Is that the Beast? Is that the Beast? Are you the Beast?" And I think that is sort of the effective part of it, is just the build up to the Beast. Because we as the viewers kind of get glimpses of him, but Greg and Wirt don't until the very end. Uh, so it's just, I think the buildup is more like being afraid for the kids than being afraid of the Beast, if that makes sense. But I love him. I think he's spooky and mean, and that's all I need out of my Halloween special.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. What else could you ask for?
Yeah, certainly not trapping a woodsman's daughter's soul in his lantern, and then also with his own soul, and making the woodsman keep it lit with the promise of bringing his daughter back, sort of. But it's really just him keeping the beast alive, and turning off the lantern would actually is the thing that brings his daughter back. I certainly couldn't ask that of my show.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
Which it all happened.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I mean, they didn't foreshadow that really in any way, but like they just sort of put that there at the end. But I feel like they gave you enough context surrounding that it worked fine without too much like foreshadowing. So, it was all right.
And I feel like it would have been very dark for the woodsman to have had to put out the lamp and then kill his own daughter.
Yeah, I mean, that would obviously be too much.
For a Cartoon Network Halloween special.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, we talk about this, but I feel like kids' animation is getting more and more mature these days. So.
Yeah, there's a difference between too dark and not treating its viewers like idiots, though.
That's fair, yeah.
Because a lot of kids' media does that. It kind of beats you over the head. Can we talk about Fred the Stealing Horse?
I mean, like, he's not really in the show for very long, but he does have an extremely good arc in that episode with the rich old mansion. So like Wirt and Greg are in this old mansion, and like there's this guy who they've convinced that they're his nephews, and he's telling them about all his tea that he's made and how wealthy and lonely he is. And then like, what is the line?
Well, Greg is having Wirt is having like a crisis of conscience the whole time because Beatrice wants to steal to get 2 cents for the ferry to go to Adelaide's house, which is kind of their mission for the beginning of the show, is to get to Adelaide's house. And Wirt is just having a crisis of conscience the whole time. So we're not going to steal from this old man. We're not going to scam him for money. That sounds crazy. And the entire time the old man's in the background like, oh, let's go enjoy my luxury and excess that I can't possibly spend during my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, like, the line is, Wirt says to Beatrice, we're scamming him? And then she's like, I was thinking more out, like, just, like, flat out stealing from him. And then he's like, I don't want to do that. And, like, and she's like, we don't want to do it. And then he says, well, Fred's a talking horse. He can do whatever he likes. And then Fred says, I want to steal, which is extremely good. There are just so many just, like, straight up, like, just funny jokes in this show, which are really delightful.
I know. I think that episode in particular has some of my favorite line deliveries in it, which is aside from that, so the whole premise is that the old man is afraid he's going mad because he's seeing a ghost in a part of his home that he doesn't remember building, but it's actually just his neighbor, and they've both expanded their mansions so much that they're butting up against each other and they become one big house. So while Greg and Fred are distracting the old man and Beatrice and Wirt are like trying to find money, they stumble into the other part of the house, and Wirt is just looking around. He's like, I don't remember what exactly the line is, but he's just like, the style of the architecture has really changed. The other one was a bit of an Edwardian, and now this is a French Rococo, and that doesn't really make sense to me. And I'm like, I can't believe they got a French Rococo joke into a children's show. It's just good. It's like a lot of really like dead ass humor that is, I don't know what the audience is, but it worked for me. Maybe
that's the thing. There's a lot of jokes that are just like, I've got candy in my pants, and there's also just like these like pretty high minded jokes, which is if you do create kids media, like there's often going to be hey, here's a joke for the parents sort of deal. But like I feel like the jokes worked well enough that like even if there were like stuff that was a little bit more high minded, like it is still effective in its writing, which is extremely good.
Yeah, I mean, that joke in particular is good because it's backed up by the visuals. So, like, even if you don't know what French Rococo is, you can still tell that a part of the house was square and red, and the other part of the house is curly and blue. But usually when children's media does jokes for adults, it's like dirty jokes. It's like always a double entendre because, kids are stupid and adults are horny. And that's how we're going to make everything from the year 1985 to 2012. That's how media is going to be. But
yeah, I'm glad that we're kind of over that.
I know, Jesus, thank fuck. But I don't know who the audience is for this show. Like, I don't know how they convinced Cartoon Network to do it. I don't know how they did anything with it, because when you watch it, it's like, yeah, I think a kid would find this fun and weird. I, as like an art student, found it fun and weird and like really masterfully done. But I'm like, how did they I would have loved to just be in the room when they pitched this to Cartoon Network.
Like,
Just talking
what does
about.
that pitch look like? Like, okay, Mr. Big Shot Cartoon Man. So we know that you have a lot of children watching your show. And what do kids like? Halloween. So what if we have a show about two kids that are getting lost on Halloween? Oh, okay, that sounds pretty good. However, we need to at least have one joke about Frederick Coco, along with the concept of sacrificing your daughter in order to kill an evil shadow man. And I think kids are gonna love that.
And we're also going to pull a lot of visual influences from classic cartoons that kids are proven to love, like Steamboat Willie, from the 30s.
From before your parents were born.
Yeah, so how does that sound, Mr. Big Cartoon Man? You going to give us some money to make our television show? Oh, by the way, it's only 10 episodes, and we're going to air 2 at a time, so it's only 5 airings, and no, we're not going to do a sequel.
Also, Elijah Wood is the main voice actor, so we're gonna need a lot of money.
So money, please. Yeah, it's just weird, and also like, I mean, I guess maybe Elijah Wood could have also done it for fun, because I know like there's I don't know if you've like noticed this, but I love this like tale of two actors between Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, who were, I don't know, both in the OG Star Wars and played Luke Skywalker and what's the other?
Now you're definitely gonna get hate mail.
Yeah, I don't know shit about Han Solo. I don't know shit about Star Wars. I came to America in 2005. Eat my ass. Anyway, so I'm gonna get hate mail anyway. I have tits. So yeah. So Mark Hamill, if you like keep up with their careers, does these like weird fucking projects all the time. Like he is a voice in the Trollhunters trilogy. He's a bunch of animated voices actually. He was in Kingdom Hearts. And he's also in an episode, probably the funniest episode of the What We Do in the Shadows TV show, as a man called Jim the Vampire. And he just does these like weird little projects, and Harrison Ford is out there milking that cash cow. He will do anything. That means he's gonna make that money. He made that movie with the digital dog where he had to rub a grown man's belly. He will make that bank. And I respect both trajectories, but I feel like Elijah Wood is probably more in the doing shit just because he can camp.
Well, it's very similar to Daniel Radcliffe, right? Like, where Daniel Radcliffe, who's like, well, I was in Harry Potter, so I'll never have to work again if I don't really want to. But anyway, I'm gonna do a movie where I get guns bolted to my hands and like just and also I'm a dead corpse. Have you heard about those movies? Like,
no, what?
Oh my god. Fuck me. I'm gonna have to look up this stupid fucking movie now, huh? Daniel Radcliffe corpse movie. Swiss Army Man, yeah. 2016.
Is that what that movie was about?
From Wikipedia. Dano plays Hank Thompson, a man who is attempting suicide after being lost on an island. When he sees a corpse portrayed by Radcliffe wash ashore, he develops a type of friendship with the dead body and discovers he can manipulate the cadaver like a Swiss Army knife. And I'm pretty sure this is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. He manipulates the dead corpse's body to fart so much that they fly.
Oh wow. I want to be in that pitch room so bad.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
The film was positively received by critics, apparently.
Hey, can we watch that movie?
No! Are you kidding me? I don't want to watch this movie.
I'm going to watch this movie and report back. Wow, I didn't know. See, that's what you should do. You should need to hit it real big with one franchise and then tell that franchise's author that she's a shitty transphobe and then do weird, strange projects like this. That's delightful. I'm delighted on his behalf.
I mean, listen, fucking Daniel Radcliffe, I'm proud of you. You've like literally got the best life ever. Congrats.
I feel like my Dan Rad news was like Equus, and then that picture of him with all the dogs on the belt, and now this.
Yeah,
These are
I
the
mean,
things I know about Daniel Radcliffe.
yeah, I mean, that's all you really need to know about Chaboy.
Wow, you're right. Wow, what a delightful tangent. Wow. Speaking about Chaboy, can we talk about how Wirt falls in love with every girl he meets?
Yeah, it's a charming character trait. I mean, it also appropriate
Is
for a
it?
it's appropriate for a young high school man. I think that's fair. um, I think it's kind of charming. I don't know. I mean, he's never like creepy or terrible. Uh-oh.
No, listen. My beef isn't what you think my beef is. My beef is that there's 8 episodes of unresolved romantic tension with Beatrice.
Okay, let's talk about that then.
I mean, that's it. That's my point. There's 8 episodes of unresolved romantic tension with Beatrice, and the whole conceit of Wirt's character is that he drowned because he was trying to get a cassette tape work to full of his poetry and bassoon playing or clarinet playing to a girl named Sarah, who we meet for an episode and a half, who seems like a delight, don't get me wrong. But for 8 episodes, he has this like wild developmental tension with Beatrice, and he also has a crush on Lorna, and I think there was someone else too, wasn't there? Lorna, by the way, fell head over heels for this fucking comb boy.
Yeah, I mean, Lorna had never seen another human in her life though, so that's fair.
That, you know what, it is fair, but at the same time, if I had a little cone boy burgle his way into my house.
My favorite part of that episode is when they break into the house. They don't break in because they think it's abandoned. And then they're looking through all this big barrel of turtles, and Greg says we're turtle rich, which is very funny. But then Lorna shows up, and she's like, "What are you doing in here?" And then Greg immediately yells, "We're burglars!"
Greg truly just the straight-faced icon of this entire show. He has the best line deliveries of all time. I think I like that episode because Auntie Whispers really reminds me of Yubaba and Zaniba from Spirited Away, just in like shape, just a real hill of a woman.
Just a evil mound that loves to eat people.
Is she evil?
I mean, I guess she's not evil. Like that's working into our next point, which is that like this show misdirects you in a lot of ways. But like, yeah, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat your bones, children," or whatever, and then she just eats turtles instead, which is weird but fine. But yeah, it turned out Lorna was the bad guy all along. You know, you live and you learn.
Yeah, which even she's not the bad guy. She's just very haunted.
Yeah, sometimes you just have ghosts in you.
Sometimes you're a girl trapped in a hut with your not aunt who makes you do work 24/7, and then sometimes you're also haunted, and it takes a boy from a different dimension and his little brother to accidentally de-haunt you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's just life.
Yeah, we all have problems, you know. And I think that's it. But yeah, I mean, okay, so from our weird discussion in our doc, do tell me why you ship Lorna and Wirt. I want to hear your case.
Oh, I mean, I don't have like an actual ship. I think you're right about Beatrice and Wirt. I just, I thought that their instant love connection was very funny.
It was very funny, but see, I'm just Team Beatrice because Beatrice is mean to him, and I think he needs someone to be a little mean to him for a couple of years, and then he'll be an upstanding young gentleman. But as of right now, the poetry does concern me.
Yeah, the poetry's a little much. I mean, he's a young high schooler. There's still time to grow out of it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there is a part at the beginning in that school teacher episode where she's just like, "Why can't you be more like your brother, Greg? Because he's like compliant and he doesn't have any willpower and he'll do whatever anyone tells him." And I was like, "Ugh, this is hitting a little close to home. I don't like that."
Right? There's it really targets the goody two shoes inside of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
to say that we're weak-willed followers of an unkind god and an unkind bureaucracy. This show has a lot to do. There's a lot of like bureaucracy jokes in it, which I think is just funny. Like there's multiple episodes with committees in them.
Yeah, that's in the dream sequence. There's there's the committee to welcome Greg to the Cloud Zone, and then there's the auxiliary committee to also welcome him to the Cloud Zone, and then there's a third committee made of animals, which is also there to welcome him to the Cloud Zone, which is interesting. Like again, like who is this for? What? Like I think it's fucking funny, but like this isn't funny for like the 12-year-old who's waiting for Naruto to come on. Like,
I mean, considering that you were a 12-year-old waiting for Naruto to come on, and now you've grown into this, maybe it is for them.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Maybe there's a Venn diagram, a baby Aaron, an array, if you will, if that's just it's just sitting there waiting for Boruto, the next generations, to come on so he can follow his cool friend Mitsuki's quest to be a double agent. I don't know what Mitsuki's deal is. I didn't get far enough.
We cannot talk about Boruto.
No, but maybe the child waiting, maybe it's for them too.
Yeah. So what is the frog's name?
George Washington, and then Jason Funderburker, and then also it was Kitty at one point.
Yeah, and then he just called it Mr. President for a while.
Yeah, because George Washington.
George Washington, but also Benjamin Franklin at one point. Greg just has so much chaos energy that it's a lot to handle. And
what do you expect from a boy with a teapot on his head?
It's his elephant costume. He's got a trunk. That's great. That's another incredibly good joke.
Yeah, the character design really feels like, you know what it feels like? It feels like somebody doodled these two characters and then built a world around them.
I mean, yeah, basically it's just like, I'm gonna make up some weird shit. It's the epitome. NaNoWriMo is coming up soon, so like it's the epitome of being a pantser, which is a NaNoWriMo term for just like making stuff up as you go along, like flying by the seat of your pants. It's very much like, okay, I've got these great characters. I'm just going to throw them into situations based on aesthetic alone and see what happens. And then we get things like them stealing onto a ferry where all of the animals are playing on they're playing on a band, and then there's also the one frog they've adopted. And the problem is that the frog they've adopted is naked and all the other animals have clothes, and that does pose a problem.
Yeah, and then they get to live out every kid's dream and stack each other in a trench coat and pretend that they're an adult.
It's so good because then they have to sneak into the band, and the situation with the pretending to be in a band is a perfect encapsulation of Wirt and Greg's characters, because Wirt is like, oh, I can't play the bassoon, I don't have the ombre for bassoon, I only play clarinet. And then like Greg is like, drum me, Wirt, drum me in the face. Because he's hiding inside of a drum, and it's really good.
Yeah, Greg talking about embouchure really targeted me as a former orchestra kid, where I was friends with people who would tell me the difference between the different embouchures that you need to have, and see, I enjoyed that joke. It felt touching, but I'm like, who not in high school band would care for this embouchure joke?
Listen, I didn't get it, but I did know it was funny.
Maybe that's the whole point, you know? You don't really get it, but you do know it's funny, which sometimes is all we really need to feel included. Maybe the real humor is the friends we made in confusion along the way.
I would say that's true. I mean, so here's the thing about this show is that, like, I didn't 100% love it. Like, there was, and we'll talk about that in a sec, but, like, I feel like it started to get more towards the stuff I like there at the end. Like when they started like developing their backstory and like kind of showing their motivations for running away, because like you know, if it's important to understand where your characters are coming from. But like that, the part that was in that party I loved very much because firstly there's an extremely good throwaway line, which they're like, Greg and are sneaking into this party, and just outside there's two guys talking, and they're like, yeah, man, there's lots of bat and ball games besides baseball. There's one old cat, two old cat, stool ball, round ball. It's just like, Why? What is this? Which I liked that. And then secondly, there's this guy, Jason Funderburker, who stole from Wirt, and like they're building him up over the previous episode. He's just like, man, Jason Funderburker totally stole this girl that I was gonna ask out. I can't believe him. That guy's got everything. He's the total package. I could never compete. And when they cut to Jason Funderburker, he's just like a huge dork ass nerd who's like, hi Sarah, do you want to go hang out in the graveyard? Which, like, I love that because it's like, one, it's misdirection, and two, it's like, oh, Wirt, you complete idiot.
He is so stupid. I love Jason Funderburker, especially because in the last episode when they're all in the hospital, because of Wirt, Greg names the frog Jason Funderburker, and so he's like, when Wirt wakes up, he's like, yeah, I was just telling everyone about the cool adventure me, you, and Jason Funderburker had. And Jason Funderburker just stands there, he's like, me? And Greg's like, no, not you, my frog, Jason Funderburker. Our frog? No, my frog. Not your frog. Just the honesty of children in this show has been weaponized for humor just so well.
Kids do say the darndest things though, so I think that's accurate.
Yeah, they do. Ever been told by a bunch of 8-year-olds you're not cool?
Still, yeah, I mean, basically every day when I worked at the school.
That's true. I still think about it. I'm still haunted.
My favorite time that intersects with the interests of our podcasts and that my time working at the school was when there was a kid running around in the 3rd grade hallway fucking making Naruto hand signs, and I was like, hey man, hey Kakashi, fucking slow down. And he's like, you know about Naruto? And I was like, kid, I watched Naruto before you were born. And that's the coolest I've ever felt in my entire life.
That's incredibly cool. What a cute little moment. Thank you for sharing that. I had to bribe my summer camp with dissecting the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer.
Sorry?
Mm-hmm. My summer camp, I taught film camps for between when I first was unemployed last year, and delightful kids. I taught 8 to 10s, and one of my class was a bunch of meme lords, and I couldn't get them to fucking behave. So I was like, okay, if you guys do this project within the parameters that I have set for you, we can dissect the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. And they were like, yeah! That's the hardest they worked all week. And they got their shit done. And then I sat there and I had to listen to Gangsta's Paradise while we watched the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. And I would pause it every once in a while and go, what kind of shot is this? And they would go, wide shot! And that's how I taught summer camp.
Kids are so feral.
They are incredible. They honestly, though, y'all, teach your kids some film shit. It's incredible. I had parents coming to me going, yeah, we were watching TV and he was telling me about like directional lines and film shot composition, and I was like, damn fucking right he was. These kids now know about lines of action and directional lighting, so congratulations. Enjoy your little nerd for the next 6 months as he hyperfixates on every wide shot and screaming it out while you're just trying to enjoy some Will and Grace. I did that for you. Oh, kids.
God.
I would love to watch the show with a kid.
Yeah, I think kids would actually have a good time. Like not like a teen, but like probably like a 10, like a 9 to 11-year-old. I feel like would enjoy this. Let's see. I want to
get their hot takes on Wirt being a babe magnet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they find him extremely relatable. It's just, I don't know why this show didn't 100% work for me. I thought the humor was definitely the strongest part, but there's just like, I was wondering if maybe it's just because it's not long enough. Like we're just so used to watching like 22-minute series on the show and like talking about that. And like, I don't know if it's because like there wasn't enough world building or like character development, because like the only real character development that happens is with Wirt and with Beatrice essentially, and then I guess a little bit with like the woodsman at the end, but like there's not like a huge character arc for anyone, which is again fine, it's a kids show, but like I don't know if that's necessarily what I'm looking for. Maybe there just wasn't enough, like, I don't know, combat sequences. Like, maybe I'm just a terrible person.
You
But,
you
like,
want to see some boys fight?
I mean, listen, a lot of this podcast has just been watching boys fight, so I'm kind of conditioned to love that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the pacing was just too fast. Like, I don't know. Do you have any ideas about, like, how did you feel about this overall, I guess?
I love this show, and I think this is kind of a fun conversation to be having because I thought you would like this. I thought this was gonna like nail it. I thought this was gonna be a great recommendation that you would like and really 5 out of 5 it, but you didn't for reasons that I didn't anticipate. And last week the same thing happened where something that should have been right on the money for me, I didn't really enjoy all that much. So, we contain multitudes, Aaron, I think is the takeaway here.
Yes, I agree. We'll have to keep continuing the experiment to finally nail down each other's brands once and for all.
Which I would just, a little story. So Aaron and I, we're not just intrepid podcast hosts. We're also friends, which is kind of the conceit of the show. So we do talk to each other a couple times a week on twitter.com for some reason, but it's fine. It works for us. Yeah, so Aaron messages me the other day because he started playing Hades, and all I can see in the message preview is, oh, I see why you like. That's it. Those are the words that I can see on the message preview. And I stare at my phone for a second, and I go, this motherfucker is about to read me for filth about an anime boyfriend that I have. And I open the fucking message, and what do you know? It is a screenshot of Dionysus from Hades, who is hot, and him reading me for filth about my anime boyfriends. You haven't even met Thanatos. You haven't seen the fucking depths of depravity that I have become enamored with. But, like, God, sometimes, like, yeah, on this podcast, sometimes we miss with our, like, media recs. But sometimes in our mano a mano talks, I get just humiliated.
Listen,
with a sniper's accuracy.
You have an extremely specific type, which is extremely buff, stupid boys, and women that are bird-shaped or could break you. I forget which one.
Bird-shaped is a non-gendered experience, but women who could step on me, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we share that taste in common, but
that's true. Yeah, which I'm very, very excited for you to get to know Meg more. Anyway, we're recording about a podcast about Hades next month, so tune in for more of Aaron reading me to filth once he meets Thanatos.
Yeah, you're just gonna get your whole DMs are gonna blow up once I see that dude.
I'm so excited.
So what are we doing next week, Layla?
We're doing Legally Blonde and the Legally Blonde musical because it's our last episode before the election. Please vote.
Dear God, please. Also, vote for Joe Biden, specifically.
Yeah, specifically for Joe Biden.
If you don't vote for Joe Biden, you're blocked from listening to this podcast. I will find your IP address and make sure that the internet doesn't come to you there. I don't think he's a good candidate, but he's also not a fascist. So please vote for him so we don't get the fascist. Yeah. We need to be clear about this.
Yeah, to quote David Diggs, Donald Trump is a white supremacist. Full stop. So please don't vote for that evil sick man, because that would actively put a lot of people in danger, including probably both of us.
Podcast hosts.
Please don't let me be shot by a white supremacist. That would make me very sad, and I will haunt you forever. Anyway, real quick aside, I did have to explain to my neighbor what a boogaloo boy is. Because we live in hell. And if you don't know, and you just want to know, like, what a stupid universe we live in. First of all, Jared Kushner owns a building on 666 Fifth Avenue. This is not a joke. You can look that up. 666 Fifth Avenue is Jared Kushner building. He owes a lot of money on this whole Times piece on it. And then if you don't know, white supremacists have adopted Civil War II Electric Boogaloo as the subtitle for the second Civil War that they're preparing for. So a Boogaloo Boy has named himself after an 80s movie about breakdancing to insinuate that there's going to be a second Civil War. And
Road, like, do you know where the Proud Boys name comes from?
No. Wait, yes, I do, Aladdin.
Aladdin musical, yeah. Like, there's a weird segment of the alt-right that takes their inspiration from some really queer shit, and it's extremely weird, and I hate it, and I hope that if Joe Biden becomes the president, he will immediately start an FBI task force to destroy white supremacy sects. That would be cool, I think.
That would be really neat if he would do that. So if you want that done, vote for Joe Biden, and then remember that voting for him does not mean that you agree with his whole platform, and that voting for Joe Biden and electing him and a Democratic Congress is just the beginning of the work that needs to be done, and then we will have to all push for the progressive platform that we actually want, because even though he has centrist talking points, if you actually look at his platform, substantively, a lot of the progressive shit he's actually agreed to. He's just targeting the center with his rhetoric. So get ready to do more work after you elect him president with your vote. So to celebrate the potential of America, we will embark on a quest to watch Legally Blonde and Legally Blonde the musical, which I think is objectively one of the best Broadway shows that has ever happened. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting, certainly, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Layla, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, so you can find me at LEYLSES on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, where I post things like pet pics, recipes, sometimes art, and sometimes thirst traps. Apparently, that's a fun new venture I've started, is posting thirst traps on my social media. I do have a comic. It is in and out right now because things are hard. But it's astroheartcomic.com. I update whenever I can, but I probably won't be back to a regular schedule until Christmas, just all things considered, and maybe later if, again, the white supremacist is in the office again. So please vote. Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at AaronSXL, where I tweet about politics and healthcare and, not bad stuff, not the incredible, stupid inanity of the time period we live in. I try not to do that, but sometimes it gets to be like the time that our president's password got guessed by some guy because it was so stupid.
And like that time Rudy Giuliani got tricked by Borat.
That Rudy Giuliani's gonna be on Borat, ain't he?
Yeah.
I hate this timeline.
We live in a hell timeline.
This is all Paula Abdul's fault.
God damn it, Paul.
You can also follow the other podcasts I do at MBF and me. Where me and Josh and Michael talk about Christian media. We're going to watch Midsommar, and that episode will hopefully come out the day after this episode comes out. So that'll be a good time, I think.
Yeah. You should also sign up for our newsletter because it's the end of the month. It's once a month it comes out. Aaron and I send you our recommendations that are not on this podcast, and we do some episode highlights, and we have our programming notes on it. It's really good. And again, it only comes to you once a month, so we're not spamming you with anything. And you can sign up for that at http:/G7JJJ5. And I say that out loud because now we are on podcasting platforms that maybe don't look at our show notes. So that's for you. And next month we are doing Legally Blonde and the third season of Kipo, Hades, the Burning God, and then we have a very sexy Scorpio season special where we're just going to talk about shit we like because November is our birthday month.
It's going to be cool, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron, let's read us out.
Yeah. Are you ready to face the darkness?
Are you?